Hare Krishna, thank you for joining this morning, Shabbat class and attentive Chapa. We'll make a start and nice. Thank you for joining this morning. Now, we've been talking about the dynasty of Maharaj Prithu, and I'm just thinking that King Vaina, his father was such a bad king, but having been bad, that actually launched a very great dynasty. So sometimes bad things can bring positive results as well. If he hasn't been that bad, then we might not have had all these, the Pachetas and Parcinbarhi, etc. The dynasty after that, amazing devotees of the Lord came about, and that only came because Vena was such a bad king. So, yeah, had his advantages then. Yeah. So let's continue. We're on the part 2 of but now actually, yes, so it's Narada speaking to Parcinbarhi, the father of the Pachetas, because he seems to have lost his way. And then Narad Muni, he's always observing the great potential devotees of the Lord. And then, when he sees that they are diverting from the path, he will go and speak to them and try and enlighten them, or just show him the way that they should be heading. So thank you so much. We'll make start. The living entity by nature has minute independence. So this is Narad Muni explaining to Parcinbarhi, King Parcinbarhi. The living entity by nature has minute independence to choose his own good or bad fortune. So that much independence we have. But when he forgets his Supreme Master, the personality of Godhead, he gives himself up onto the modes of material nature. So the modes of material nature are always waiting for us. If we don't send it to Krishna, we'll send it to the 3 modes. Being influenced by the modes of material nature, he identifies himself with the body, and for the interest of the body, become attached to various activities on the body platform. Sometimes he is under the influence of the modes of ignorance, sometimes the mode of passion, and sometimes the mode of goodness. The living entity thus gets different types of bodies under the modes of material nature. So these different types of bodies explained in Bhagavad-Gita 13.22. Purusha prakritisto hi bhukte prakriti jan guna karanam gun sangosya sad asad yoni janmasu, which means that living entity in material nature follows the ways of life, enjoying the 3 modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species. So you get the body according to which mode you associate with. Because of associating with the mode of nature, the living entity gets a variety of bodies from the 8.4 million forms. It is clearly explained herein that the living entity has little independence, indicated the word svadrik, meaning one who can see his own welfare. The living entity's constitutional position is very minute, and he can be misled in his choice because we have 4 defects. So we can make wrong choices, and we have desires, personal desires that can, make the wrong choices as well. He may choose to imitate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we might choose to do that. We might have this desire that we want to be like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A servant may desire to start his own business and imitate his master or his employer. And when he chooses to do so, he may leave the protection of his master. Sometimes he's a failure, sometimes successful. Similarly, the living entity, part and parcel of Krishna, starts his own business to compete with the Lord. So a very nice analogy. There are many competitors out to attain the Lord's position. but to become like the Lord is not at all possible. So you might be able to compete with your employer, but you cannot compete with God Himself because He's unlimited. We are minute, so we cannot compete with Him, although we would like to. Thus, there is a great struggle for existence with the material world, as different parties try to imitate the Lord. Material bondage is caused by deviation from the service of the Lord and attempts to imitate Him. So this is what we try to do. We try to imitate the Lord by thinking, actually, Krishna is not the controller or the proprietor or the enjoyer. We are. But then we pay the price for trying to imitate Him, because that's the law of nature. So let's do a prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langyate Grim Yat Kirpatam Hamande Shri Gurun Din Taranam Brahmananda Matvam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Om Tat Sat. Narayam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Madhuriyat. Establisho Avadhureshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nistiki. So Hare Krishna. So those who are situated in the mode of goodness act piously according to Vedic injunctions. Thus they are elevated to the higher planetary systems where the demigods live. So now Narada explaining what happens to these people who are attached to the modes. So they're going to planets of, if you're a mode of goodness, you'll go to the planets of the demigods. Those who are influenced by the mode of passion, engaging various types of productive activities in the planetary systems where human beings live, so like planet Earth. Similarly, those influenced by the modes of darkness are subject to various types of misery and live in the animal kingdom. Or you might even go to the lower planets. So we have 14 types of structures or stages or planets, and we are 7 from the top, 7 below us, 6 above us. So we can move. We have the we have the potential, or we have the free will to move to the higher planets or move to the low planets according to our karma, or our desires and how we perform. So covered by the mode of ignorance in material nature, the living entity is sometimes a male, sometimes a female, sometimes a eunuch, sometimes a human being, sometimes a demigod, sometimes a bird, an animal, and so on. So you can see, we're surrounded by, we see all the time, birds in the garden. You go to the park, people are walking their dogs. Now those animals and birds, at some point they were human beings, because this is like been going since eternity. At some point they were human beings, and you look at them, you think, what did they do to get this body? They are living entities just like us, but they just got a different body, and the dog is on a chain, and some human being is pulling him. The dog wants to stop and do something, and the person pulls him, come on, let's go. And he's trying to get away. He's observed this in the park, and sometimes the dog is carrying a stick in his mouth, and he thinks he's doing a very good job. He's behaving so nicely. So like that, they were human beings once, and now they've got this pitiful body, this pitiful life, and lost their rightful human body. So his acceptance of different types of bodies is brought about by his activities under the influence of the modes of nature. So that free will we had, we chose to do certain activities which made us end up in those bodies, the birds and the bees and the animals. The living entity is exactly like a dog. So we're talking about dogs. The living entity is exactly like a dog who, overcome with hunger, goes from door to door for some food. According to his destiny, he sometimes receives punishment and is driven out, and at the other time receives a little food to eat. So this happens more in India. Here the cats are going from door to door, but there the dogs are going from door to door. Sometimes people will give them something, or sometimes they will just scare them away. Similarly, the living entity, being influenced by so many desires, wanders in different species of life according to destiny. Sometimes he is high and sometimes he is low. Sometimes he goes to the heavenly planets, sometimes to hell, sometimes to the middle planets, and so on. So it's all based on our activities. And the worst thing is that you get a body of an animal, and then you suffer in that body as well. Sometimes you be a dog, and your master loves you, and he will do anything for you. You're like their child, right? And they will do anything for you. And then other times you see these documentaries where the dogs and the cats, they've been mistreated. They're really very bad state. So first you're in animal body, and on top of that you're mistreated, and you're left in a very bad condition, diseased. So how awful, more can it be, that even in the animal body you're suffering more and more. So that's our destiny. Whatever free will, how we use it to build our destiny, that's we will suffer or enjoy accordingly. The living entities are trying to counteract different miserable conditions pertaining to providence, or the living entities, or the body of the mind, or the living entities, or the body and mind. So this is three kinds of miseries, which may come from the body and mind, which may come from other living entities, or they may come from the demigods, like the weather and conditions, things like that, hot and cold. Still, they must remain conditioned by the laws of nature, despite all attempts to counter these laws. So Prabhupada gives an example that just as a dog wanders here and there for a piece of bread or punishment, the living entity perpetually wanders about trying to be happy and planning in so many ways to counteract material misery. This is called the struggle for existence. We can actually see in our daily lives how we are forced to make plans to drive away miserable conditions. So we have miserable conditions, and we are doing things to get rid of those these miserable conditions. Because we have the intelligence, we're thinking, right, we can plan, okay, so I have this problem, I have lack of money, so I need to do this, or my health is suffering, I need to do this. So we're always planning to improve our situation. A poor man suffers for want of money. He wants to become rich. He has to struggle in so many ways. Actually, that is not valid counteracting process, but a snare of the illusory energy. If one does not endeavor to counteract his situation, but is satisfied with his position, knowing that he has obtained his position through past activities, he can instead engage his energy to develop Krishna consciousness. So I don't know how much we can understand this. So Prabhupada is saying that to counteract one misery, we take on another misery. So that is not a great proposal according to spirituality. Prabhupada is saying that why don't we take to Krishna consciousness, and why don't we go to the root of the problem to solve the problem rather than just taking on one miserable condition to avoid another miserable condition. So I think that's the logic behind that go to the root which caused this problem in the first place. And the root was that we tried to steer away from Krishna, from the Lord, from God, and we tried to become the enjoyer, or whatever we did in our previous circumstances that led to where the misery that we are in now. So why don't we go to the root and try and solve that problem? This is recommended in all Vedic literature. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for the purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmalok, down to the lowest planet, Patal-lok. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries, even though we don't desire them. One should simply try to develop his Krishna consciousness and not waste time trying to improve his material condition. Actually, the material condition cannot be improved. The process of improvement means accepting another miserable condition. However, if we endeavor to improve our Krishna consciousness, the distresses of material life will disappear without extraneous endeavor. Krishna therefore promises, Kuntya Pratijanihi Name Bhaktya Pinashyati, O son of Kunti, declare boldly that my devotee never perishes. One who takes to the path of devotional service will never be vanquished, despite all miseries of the body and mind, and despite all misery brought about by the other living entities and providence, miseries which are beyond our control. So if you take shelter of Krishna, no matter what miseries you have, you will never perish. Krishna will always look after you and make sure at least you can do your bhakti well. A man may carry a burden on his head. So here, Narada Muni is giving another example of what he's been talking about. A man may carry a burden on his head. And when he feels it to be too heavy, he sometimes gives relief to his head by putting the burden on his shoulder. I think we've all experienced that. Sometimes we're carrying something in one hand, maybe shopping, and then we might change hands to give relief to the right hand, so we give misery to the left hand. In this way, he tries to relieve himself of the burden. However, whatever process he devises to counteract the burden does nothing more than put the same burden from one place to another. So from head to shoulder, or from right hand to left hand, we do that. We just, burden's still there, we just put it to another position. This is a good description of an attempt to transfer a burden from one place to another. When one gets tired of keeping a burden on his head, he will place it on his shoulder. This does not mean that he has become freed from the strains of carrying that burden. Similarly, human society, in the name of civilization, is creating one kind of trouble to avoid another kind of trouble. In contemporary civilization, we see that there are many automobiles manufactured to carry us swiftly from one place to another. But at the same time, we have created other problems. So man has created the car to make life easy, but then at the same time, the side effects of that creation of the automobile. So for that, if you have a car, then we have to construct so many roads and so many roadworks every time we go out. And yet these roads are insufficient to cope with automobile congestion, and then there's traffic jams. And then there are accidents as well. There are also the problem of air pollution and fuel shortage. The conclusion is that the processes we manufacture to counteract or minimize our distresses do not actually put an end to our pains. So there is if you want solution to a material problem, then you need spiritual solutions. Trying to find material solutions to material problems clearly does not work. It just makes more problems. It creates more problems. It is simply an illusion. We simply place the burden from the head to the shoulder. The only real way we can minimize our problem is to surrender onto the Supreme Personality Godhead and give ourselves up to his protection. The Lord, being all powerful, can make arrangements to mitigate our painful life in material existence. To be honest, this is beginning to make sense to me now, what Srila Prabhupada is trying to say. Narada continued, O you who are free from all sinful activity, no one can counteract the effects of fruit activity simply by manufacturing a different activity devoid of Krishna consciousness. All such activities due to our ignorance. When we have a troublesome dream, we cannot relieve it with a troublesome hallucination. One can counteract a dream only by awaking. Similarly, our material existence is due to our ignorance and illusion. Unless we awaken to Krishna consciousness, so we are in this horrible dream, horrible nightmare, and we can't fix that dream within the dream. You need to wake up to get rid of it. Unless we awaken to Krishna consciousness, we cannot be relieved of such dreams. For the ultimate solution to all problems, we must awaken to Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we suffer because we see a tiger in a dream or a snake in a vision, but actually there is neither a tiger nor a snake. Thus we create some situation in a subtle form and suffer the consequences. Yeah, we all had them. We have a nightmare and we wake up, all scared and flustered. As stated in the Vedas, the living entity is always separate from two kinds of material bodies. So there's a living entity. He has two kinds of material bodies. There's the subtle body and there's the gross body. Gross body is the one you can see. Subtle body is your mind, ego, intelligence, like that. That's your subtle part of your body. All our sufferings are due to these material bodies. This is explained in Bhagavad-Gita. Mataspashas tu kunteya sitoshna sukha dukha daha agampayaino nityas tams tatikshva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and the disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, a sign of Bharata. And one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So Lord Krishna thus informed Arjuna that all the distresses brought about by the body come and go. One has to learn how to tolerate them. Material existence is the cause of all sufferings, but we do not suffer once we are out of the material condition. So this soul is stuck in this body, and the body is programmed to suffer, whether it's in the subtle part or the gross part is programmed to suffer, and along with that, the soul suffers as well. Because why? Because we relate with the body, so we suffer accordingly. The body will suffer. The soul will, the mind, intelligence, the false ego suffers. The soul does not have to suffer, but then we choose to suffer along with the body. Because we are connected with it, and we've had this body, material bodies for eternal time. We had different material bodies. We're so used to connecting with this material body or this material nature that we start relating to it. The Vedas therefore enjoin that one should effectively understand that he's not material, but is actually Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. This understanding cannot be fully realized unless one is engaged in Brahman activities. So the more we engage in spiritual activities, the more we realize that we actually not this material body. Namely, so our activities include devotional service. To get free from the material conditions, one has to take to Krishna consciousness. That is the only remedy. The real interest of the living entity is to get out of the nescience that causes him to endure repeated birth and death. The only remedy is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality Godhead through his representation. Unless one renders devotional service unto the Supreme Personality Godhead, Vasudeva, one cannot become completely detached from this material world, nor can he possibly manifest real knowledge. So it's not something we can do ourselves. We need to take shelter of Krishna. O best of kings, one who's faithful, who's always hearing the glories of the Supreme Personality Godhead, who's always engaged in the culture of Krishna consciousness and in hearing of the Lord's activities, very soon becomes eligible to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. My dear King, in the place where pure devotees live, following the rules and regulations, thus purely conscious and engaged with a great eagerness in hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in that place, if one gets a chance to hear the constant flow of nectar, which is actually like the waves of a river, one will forget the necessities of life, namely hunger and thirst. Because the conditioned soul is always disturbed by the bodily necessities, such as hunger and thirst, he has very little time to cultivate attachment to hearing the nectarian words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, very interesting. So it's saying that we have this consciousness, where we are always thinking about the Anmaya Kosh, Pranmaya Kosh. We are always thinking about a material platform, where, what we're going to eat today, where are we going today, how to enjoy, how to create more safety for us. We're just thinking all the time on the material platform. And as long as we keep thinking on the material platform, we will keep relating to this body, to the material body. And the material body, like I said, is created to suffer, whether it's the gross body or the subtle body. It's made to suffer. And if we keep connecting with that body, we will also suffer along with it. So we have to try and remove our consciousness from the material body onto spirituality, onto Krishna consciousness. Like it says, Jago, Jiva Jago. We have to awaken to this fact and stop living the dream that we're living in the material body. So hope it makes some kind of sense. Thank you so much all for joining. My father Nudi is there, Hina Mataji, Jai Prabhu, Lydia Mataji, Praveen Mataji, Prem Prakash Prabhu, and Sarvashri Mataji. Thank you for joining, and love to hear your points of view on this. I think it's very interesting knowledge, philosophical knowledge that Narada Muni is passing on to Parcinbarhi. And this is second week we're doing this, and I want to continue this for a couple of more weeks maybe, because it tells him a lot of things to try to bring him out of the actions that he has been taking, trying to bring him back to spirituality. So it shows that even kings, we can get drifted as well. Hare Krishna. Hina Mataji, shall we start with yourselves, please? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. Lovely verse. Thank you, Prabhu, for the class. Some really nice points that you made. I like one of the things that stand out for me is around, that we only have our desires, and they determine where we go in this life and also in our next life. So it's so crucial that we need to keep those desires spiritual in Krishna's service. And your example of cats and dogs and observations of souls in the body of an animal, and it kind of just made me think, well, actually, regardless of the body, whether it's an animal body, a human body, if you've got a material body, you are due to suffer. It's like a contract. You will suffer in this world no matter what. So, there will be pain, there will be disturbances, there'll be we need to, in the human life, we're so fortunate that we are able to elevate our consciousness, and we know we can learn how to not associate with the body, and remember that we are a spirit soul. We remember our relationship to the divine, remember our relationship to Krishna, and that devotional service is our true nature, and that kind of helps to kind of lessen the pain and the burden of being in this material world and having a material body, what have you. So thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, absolutely. Thank you for the essence. Yes, absolutely. This is what this reading is all about. to stop associating with the body. We cannot completely stop associating with the body, but the more we do, the less we will suffer. Of course, that's the main thing. Thank you. Lydia Mataji, Hare Krishna. I don't know when you joined, Mataji. I don't know if you... Okay, we'll come back to you if you like to say something. Parveen Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam to everyone. Yeah, very nice. It's not only like Narada Muni is telling to Parcinbarhi, but it is like for us, telling us how we need to use our free will and to get out of this cycle of birth and death. And the only solution is we have to surrender. And that is our constitutional position, which we have forgotten. And we're trying to enjoy without Krishna. And we can see now, like, now we're trying a little bit of effort. And when we are doing like the classes and we're doing japa, how happy we are when we are connecting to Krishna. So we need to remember that and connect like 24 hours. So rather than desiring material, happiness, and there's no like happiness in the material platform. And even in Bhagavad-Gita, Lord Krishna says, Dukhalyama Shashwatam. So I don't know why we're looking for happiness, this will make us happy. So we just have to take shelter of Krishna, follow the rules and regulations, and that will really, hopefully decide our future journey where we go. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, the soul, the spirit soul is made of Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So it's eternal and is full of knowledge and is full of bliss, or full of enjoyment. So it's our nature that we want to enjoy. It's our nature. And the poorest of the poor people, the person who's most diseased, now we find some way or other to enjoy mentally or physically. We find a way somehow. We find a way to enjoy. It's our nature. We cannot get away from these things. Sat, Chit, Anand, we cannot get away from it. But we just try and enjoy on the wrong way. This is the problem. We try to enjoy the illusion. And this is why we get distressed as well, because the illusion, is very temporary enjoyment. So we love to enjoy, but we can find the enjoyment in Krishna consciousness, which is everlasting, without side effects, as we always discuss. So no harm in enjoying, because that is our nature. We're just better to enjoy in the Krishna consciousness, and at least that won't bind us to this material world. That is the difference. Thank you, Madaji. Okay. Prem Prakash Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu, are you able to unmute?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Very interesting things, Prabhuji. Very grace of Maharaj and few lectures which I've been listening to. It seems like very interesting is that in this material world, basically, endeavor is there, and to mitigate one misery, we need to endeavor, and that endeavor results into a different misery, a next level of misery. So, and to mitigate other one, it actually requires a lot of cycles, endeavors. You have to work hard, and that is never ending. It's all going along with that, but nothing happens by just wishing. Just suppose we have a misery and we wish that, okay, the misery should be going, and I'm meditating, my miseries are gone, my miseries are gone, my miseries are gone. It's not going to help. It's an illusion that misery is going to get away. It's never going to happen. So one has to keep on working. One have to keep on doing karma. But the point is, the karma will actually have repercussions, will have actually generate a counter karma, and then to suffer those counter karma, one has to again come back and actually suffer those counter karma. Suffering counter karma will create another karma, and then we have to suffer another karma. But if you're going to explain this to any person who doesn't even understand the point, basically what we are talking about, he said that it's impossible to come out of this misery of karma, cycles of karma. It's never possible. But one very interesting thing is that one thing is possible just by wishing.
Yeah.
Just by wishing, one thing is possible. And one thing is possible is to achieve Supreme Personality of Godhead just by making our heart, uh, very, very much focused, wishing so badly that we want to achieve Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And if our wish is sincere, we are going to achieve it. Krishna will be merciful, and Krishna is going to, we will be able to achieve Krishna. We're going to live with Krishna. So by just wishing, so that is a difference between material world and spiritual world. The point is the different, I mean, the difficulty is that we are not actually good enough or actually sincere enough to wish that we want to achieve Krishna. We always keep on desiring many other enjoyment. And that is a problem. That is the reason why we are in this material world, because we decided to enjoy without Krishna. And Krishna said that, be your wish, be fulfilled. And now we are here. Krishna is still fulfilling the wishes because we still wish to stay back in this wonderful, beautiful material world. The moment we realize this wonderful, beautiful material world is full of wonder and miseries, it's never going to end, and our place is Krishna, and we actually are now actually leave all other desires and just actually serve, desire to enjoy with Krishna, be with him, to serve him, make him happy. Krishna will be, just by wishing that with our full heart, Krishna is going to be merciful and Krishna is going to take us away. The process, now this free will is our process, whether we adopt to the Bhagavad Dharma. There's always two types of Dharma we have to do. One is Lokik Dharma, another one is Bhagavad Dharma. The free will is between these two Dharma. Whether we choose any point in time, whether we actually choose to follow the Lokik Dharma or we choose to follow the Bhagavad Dharma. Lokik Dharma, husband, wife, father, son, colleague, work, all those things are Lokik Dharma. But when we attach Krishna to them, when we focus everything on center of Krishna, that becomes Bhagavad Dharma. And Bhagavad Dharma is beyond the conception of karma. So that is what is teaching, I believe, Praveen, that whatever we do, we try to enjoy with Krishna all the time. And someday our desire will be strong enough that we would be able to leave the desire to enjoy in this material world and then just go back. Just because the desire is so strong, Krishna will take us away. Hare Krishna, Praveen.
Thank you. Yes, very nicely explained. Absolutely. So, I mean, we have don't know what we've been doing previous lives, that we are still here. And so obviously we didn't pass the test, we're still here, at least, but still we did something right, that we got the material, a human body. But having said that, whatever we did wrong or right in the past, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. It's here and now. It's what we do now with our free will. That's what counts, because that is the platform for taking us forward. So, we don't need to beat ourselves up about what we did before, why did we end up, is where we are now. This is like clean slate, start again, start here and do what is the right thing, what is necessary, what guidance we're getting, that we don't make the same mistake again. And we want to do the right thing, even if we know we're told that this is the right thing, we want to do it. But like Arjun said, I want to do the right thing, but there's something that compels me not to do the right thing. What is that? It's lust, my dear Arjun. Krishna says it's lust which resides in our senses, in our mind, in our intelligence. It's lust that actually, we want to have the right desires, but the lust causes us have to have the wrong desires to get away from Krishna. So we given devotional service, given chanting to purify ourselves from that lust. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Sarveshri Mataji, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Very nice class with a lot of knowledge to learn and a lot of explanation have been given. Very nice. Lord Krishna have given us a little independence, but we misuse that independence. We try to load it over the material nature. That why we are suffering from four miseries: birth, death, old age, and disease. And because our fruitic activities, everything for ourselves, and not offering it to Krishna, and we have desire. That's our desire never ends. Because of our desire, we have to be take birth again and again, and then birth and death is like Pharaoh's will. But if we desire to bhakti or with Krishna conscious, then we can reach our goal, and that is back to Godhead. And my thing, if we want to control our senses is not that important. The most important is the object of senses. And senses are there already, but if you the eyes are there, but if you see, that is object of senses. If you see anything, then you want to have load it over the material nature or hear something. So we have to control our object of senses. And to get out of material body and suffering, it says again that we have to be Krishna conscious and do devotional service. And throughout them, Bhagavatam, the prayers are from the devotees. It's all about material nature, how they can Krishna, pray to Krishna to get out of material nature and have devotional service. So I put a nice prayer of from Bhagavatam. It's a prayer of Vritasur. Oh my, it's just appropriate for this. We have had this the Bhagavatam. Oh my Lord, oh my Master, I'm wandering throughout this material world as a result of my fruitic activities. Therefore, I simply seek friendship in the association of your pious enlightened devotees. My attachment to my body, wife, children, and home is continuing by the spell of our external energy. But I wish to be attached to them no longer. Let my mind, my consciousness, and everything I have be attached only to you. So that's what we should try to do, and we should pray to Krishna that free us from this material world and from material nature, so we can go back to Godhead and that Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. I think Radharani was talking something around this, about the scorpions, you were saying.
Yeah.
You want to just mention?
Yeah. Hare Krishna, everyone. Yeah, so many valid points and so much we have been discussing, and Bhagavatam is full of, and like we always hear that at the time of death, there's so many scorpions are like biting us together at the same time. That's the kind of the pain one goes through. But what is that actually? It's not that scorpions are biting us at that time. At that time, the attachments, they are biting us. That is affecting our souls when the soul is leaving our body. The attachment to our body, first of all, then to our relationships, then to the material assets we have in our life, which we have gathered, and even to, the little things in your day-to-day life, all those attachments, they are binding our souls at the time of death,
Causing pain, right?
Causing all the pain. And it's so amazing when you understand this properly, and when you hear from the speakers of Bhagavatam. They're explaining so clearly to you. This was explained by Gauranga Das Prabhu. And he was saying it so clearly that this is the pain. This is the pain which is not letting us leave and letting us go, our souls go back to the Godhead. If we understand all this, then I think, like we all were saying, that whatever problems we're having, one problem comes and we get rid of that problem, what happens? It is always replaced by another one. The problem of the body is sometimes replaced by the problem of the mind. Problem of the mind is replaced by the nature, and this cycle goes on and on. So we have to just understand that this body has been given as a vehicle to do the bhakti, and bhakti is the only way which is going to break this cycle. Otherwise, we will just keep coming back and back, and in every body, whether it's a body of an animal, of a bird, or a human being, we'll have same attachments. You can see the animals also similarly attached to their young ones, to their families, to whatever they like, you know, whether it's a piece of twig or seed they're carrying. So bhakti is the only way. Krishna is telling us again and again. And if it wasn't for the problems, I think we will never think of Bhagwan himself. That is what I think, that, you know, for little problems which are little and large, any kind of problems which comes to our body and to our minds, we always say, Krishna, please take away this problem. I will do your chanting nicely. I will be more sincere in my bhakti. But these problems are the only way which we are remembering Krishna. If it wasn't for these problems, I don't think any of us will be sitting here in this class or even trying to do any little service for Krishna. So this material world is full of problems, full of miseries all around us. And like we were saying, that we were once, all of us, all the species, whether it's animals or us, we were once upon part of the spiritual world. And because we wanted to enjoy ourselves, we wanted to become God of our own situation. So we wanted to have our own house, our own family, because we didn't want it to work under Krishna. That was the problem. That is why we've been sent here. And this material world has been designed by Lord in such a way that there is envy, there is everything. But it seems like impossible kind of situation to do bhakti, but still, this is the only way we have to do bhakti. The detachment. This is where the detachment comes. We have to get detached from everything and get attached to just with one single focus to Krishna. So whatever we are doing, whether we are in good shape or not, or when our mind is disturbing us, whatever, but still we got to remember that Krishna, this life is for you, all my activities are for you, and all my efforts are for you. So this is bhakti. This is how bhakti, this is how remembering Krishna all the time is. Hare Krishna.
Absolutely. We have to understand that we have to accept the three kind of miseries. They are there. It's the part of our living. Like Hina Mataji very nicely explained, that's the contract we've signed, and we have to bind by it. That's the contract. We want to live independently of Krishna, then part of the contract agreement is that then we will also have to suffer. But then Krishna does no wrong. If he wants us to suffer these miseries, then like Radharani says, that then we remember Krishna. Otherwise, why would we? This is the thing with the higher planets and the Svarglok and like that. People have got no time for God. They're just too much enjoying. So this is the earth. Although it's a Mrityu lok and it's full of miseries, it's the best place because the miseries remind us that we're in the wrong place.
Yeah, just on that note, Prabhu was saying that, in this higher planets, in the heavens, your body is so fragrant that when you have a bath in a river, your fragrance is gone to that river. So that is the kind, because it's not body, it's all subtle body in the heavenly planets, but it's all enjoyment for the senses all the time. That those citizens there, those jivas there get fed up. They want to actually come back to the earth so they can do the bhakti. Because just imagine that we all our senses are doing is all the time enjoying. We will all get fed up. We will enjoy like it for a day, maybe for a few hours, or some may not even like for a few minutes. So even in the heavens, where they have lifetimes of millions and millions of years, they get fed up of enjoyment. It's too much enjoyment. They haven't got material body like we have. They've got subtle body only, but that subtle body also gets fed up and wants to come back to the earth, because the jiva realizes there that I wanted this enjoyment, but that enjoyment is not the answer to everything.
It's not satisfying.
No, not satisfying, because an end of the life there, after the heavenly planets, again you have to take on another body, and another body is given, and again we get a cycle of bodies to eventually go back to God. So we shouldn't get, I think, get too worried when we think of our situation here, that it's fine. It's actually better than the heavenly planets if you come to think of it.
It's the gateway.
Yeah.
This position is the gateway. We can go to heaven planets, but then we're getting away from the gateway back to Godhead. This is the thing. We're getting away. We need to come back here, and this is the entrance to go back home. So, Vidya Mata, you have your microphone on. Would you like to Hare Krishna? Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaura Bhanu Picharne Nirvisesa Sunya Abadi Paschata Desata Vine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Binda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare